Hello, everyone who has dialed in to attend. I am Janine Holly, and I'm the Community Manager for Cambridge Health Tech Associates, or CHA. I'd like to welcome everyone who's joined us today. We're pleased to bring you today's webinar, and we're going to get started in just a moment. I'd like to mention that we encourage all of you attending today's session to ask questions by submitting questions through the chat module at the right of your screen. Also, toward the end of the session, we will post a link to a short feedback survey and would be grateful if you'd spend a few minutes to give us your input, which will help us in planning future events. With us today to give you an overview of CHA's approach to online communities are Don Van Dam and Brian Murphy. Don is the General Manager of CHA, and Brian is the Manager of Business Development. I'll turn it over to Don now, and we can get started. Don, are you there?
Yes, hi Janine, thank you very much.
Hi, Don.
So, can everyone hear me okay? Great, thanks.
Yes, we can hear you.
Good. So welcome everyone to today's session. I'm very excited to be here talking to you today and have the opportunity to give you some insights into how you can do some non-traditional marketing and how you can take the online communities and become more of a thought leader with your customers and express your opinions to them and share with them the insights that you have about your organization and how we can help move things forward for you as you go in your efforts to market and promote your company. So I'll just give you a brief overview at first, and then we'll move into some market research that's been done around how successful online communities can be to help you market your products and your services. So there should be a slide up in front of everyone that says today's science of healthcare. And I want to ask everyone a question. We're going to have you do a little poll for us today. And that in today's science of healthcare, when you think about things like drug discovery, preclinical safety, high content analysis, next generation sequencing, genomics, even things like protein engineering, assays, all the great science that we have today from the perspective of helping us create new molecules and new advances in healthcare. The question is, are things getting easier for you, or are things getting harder for you? So Janine's going to put up a poll, and if you could just answer whether things are getting easier for you. That's the first question. So just to the right of your screen should be the question, are things getting easier? Just answer yes or no. And then, once you answer that question, are things getting harder for you? And there again, you can just answer yes or no. Great. Well, it looks like pretty much, again, after you answer each question, you just have to press submit at the bottom in case you haven't had a chance to do that yet. It looks like everyone's saying things are getting harder, which is very, very interesting, given that we have all this terrific science out there. And you would think that with all these different ways that we can put our efforts forward and create new scientific discoveries and new medications, that things would be getting easier. But in actual fact, most people everywhere I go and I ask them this question, they say that things are getting harder for them. So hopefully you've had a chance to answer both of those questions so we can see how everybody's responses compare. But this is where Cambridge Health Tech Associates really tries to work with organizations and help you succeed, because despite the fact that we have so much science to choose from, things are actually becoming more and more difficult. So let me tell you a little bit about how we can help you in the industry. As I said before, we do consulting, technology evaluations, and we have a number of online communities. And just to give you a bit of a perspective on who we are and also how we're different than our sister company is CHI, or Cambridge Health Tech Institute, which of course specializes in conferences, and I know that many of you have attended those conferences, so we really appreciate seeing you at those events. But since we can work so closely with CHI at Cambridge Health Tech Associates, when we talk to our colleagues on the other side of the building, it really helps us understand what's going on as we hear the feedback from all of you who attend the conferences and learn what's important to you, what are some of the issues in the marketplace, what are the trends. And by meeting you at these conferences as well, too, it gives us a chance to ask you more questions, have you participate in some of our market research studies, and really feedback to you as one of our clients, what is the pulse of what's going on out there in the marketplace. So let me tell you a little bit more about Cambridge Health Tech Associates. We, again, specialize in the drug discovery and development space, and we have a database of over 900,000 individuals from around the world. So that really gives us a chance to understand what your needs might be and understand how you might be able to better market and position what you have to offer to the community. So we have another poll question for you, and the question is just around where do you work? Do you work in academia? Do you work in the government? Do you work in a lab, in biotech industry, in pharma, in hospitals, or in a venture capital firm? Because all of these organizations are the types of organizations that are represented in our database. And it's great to see who's on the line today so we can just get a perspective of who's with us and who's out there and who's interested in learning more about how online communities can help you in the marketplace. One of the things that we find is everyone pretty much across the board has an interest in what new technologies can be used in order to improve the science of healthcare. And that's where our experience of working with thousands of technology vendors can really come in handy in helping you guys when you're talking to your customers and promoting to them. So I'll just give you a bit of an overview while we're waiting for you to finish up on that last poll and just tell you about our different services. So for consulting services, you may need consulting when it comes to when you're looking for things like staffing flexibility, you're looking for more experience and knowledge, maybe you need to get really in-depth in a marketplace that you haven't worked in before, or you need to understand how your marketplace might respond to a new product, or what could your market projections be, or what should the pricing be of something that you have to offer, or if you're looking for expanded contacts. So with a database of almost 1 million people, it's an opportunity for us to help you understand which components of the marketplace might be interested in what you have to offer. So that's kind of where we really try to specialize and help you out. Excuse me. And because of the depth of experience that we have in our group, and I'll tell you a little bit more about our group in a minute, we really try to take a two-pronged approach. We say, what's the foundation of and the hypothesis of what your business question or your market question might be? And we do that from the experience that we have in the marketplace, and then we go out and we test that hypothesis in the marketplace. And we talk to customers, we do either qualitative research or quantitative research to really therefore provide you with a framework on how best to approach your customers, how best to position your product, and where it might fit in their current armamentarium of technology that they're using or other things that they're using in order to succeed. And it's through this methodology that we are able to give you back stronger solutions so that you can be more successful in the marketplace. So it's that sort of two-pronged approach that we use that really helps you move forward. Just to give you a brief overview on our technology evaluations, as I mentioned before, technology evaluations are so critical to the science of healthcare and making sure that we all continue to move forward. If you think about the things that we have and that we're using today, I'd say more than half of them didn't exist 10, 15, 20 years ago. So things are constantly evolving, and we all need to keep on top of that. And from that perspective, we do a yearly survey with the industry looking at technology adoption trends. And we ask all of you out there to participate and tell us what technologies have you implemented in your organization in the last year, which ones are you implementing this year, and which one do you have plans to implement next year, particularly, of course, if you're in the pharmaceutical industry or the biotech industry. And that helps everyone because it gives us a great understanding of what are the up-and-coming things that our companies are looking for, what are people implementing, where are they struggling, where are they really reaping the rewards and having lots of success in the market. So we find that people love this survey, and it's really great when we can get lots of participation because then we get a strong, robust set of information that we can share with the industry. And we're looking forward to doing that again for 2012 with you guys later in the year. This year, though, for the first time, we've implemented a new study on next-generation sequencing and genomic interpretation, and this is a full, complete stakeholder survey. And to date, we've already done over 50 interviews, and I think by the time we're finished, we'll have over 100 interviews completed from everyone from hospitals, labs, government, academia, industry, technology providers, payers across the board. So we're really thrilled to be able to bring that to you again, probably towards the fall of this year. So moving on to our professional communities, because I know that's why you've all joined us today. Really, why do people look at professional communities? And they've become such an important part of not just our personal lives when it comes to things like Facebook and Twitter, but also in our professional lives. I know many people are engaged in LinkedIn, but a professional community can go so much further beyond LinkedIn. They really help you improve the communication and the knowledge sharing and the networking within a specific group and a specific profession. And it goes beyond LinkedIn groups, which sometimes just become job boards. But in our professional communities, we take that to a higher level and try to give you educational material and webinars and other things of that sort. So two that we're just highlighting today would be our Drug Safety Executive Council and our Next Generation Sequencing Leaders community. We're in the process of looking at a number of other communities that we would like to launch, and if there's another one that you think we would launch, or we should launch, we would love to hear from you and get your feedback on how you think we should bring that to the marketplace. But we'll talk about these more in a couple minutes. Janine Holly, as she mentioned when she first came on, is our community manager, and she has tremendous experience moving from where communities first were implemented in the telecommunications and mobile industries into our area and into the life sciences area. So she's done a stellar job in taking this, the NGS Leaders community at least, from nothing, basically from scratch, to becoming a destination site for many people. And what we have today is a phenomenal membership of, I think, around 4,500 people who have actually officially signed up, although we have a database of about 80,000 people that we promote NGS Leaders to. And our time on site is just phenomenal. We have people who actually spend an average of 30 minutes or more on the site because of the content that's on there. So why do people start to get more involved in communities, and what can you learn from a community? Well, you can learn the trends and how people make their decisions. You can get a better idea of the market players and their needs, and really get a pulse on the industry's interests and where they're thirsty for more knowledge. So if you want to join any of our communities, we welcome to have you join them. They're free to everyone. And post a question in one of our discussion forums, or send us a blog that you'd like to put on the website. We'd love to have people participate. That would be great. But overall, it really helps us understand the needs and trends in the industry, which is so important as we move forward today. So what expertise do we bring to all of you, both at Cambridge Health Tech Associates for our consulting and our technology evaluations, and but most importantly today for our communities? Just a little background on myself, industry experience as well as supplier side experience across the board, everything from drug discovery to working with physicians in the pharmaceutical industry, et cetera. Then we also have Brian Murphy, who will be speaking in a couple of minutes. Allison Serrano is our marketing manager, and we have a great staff of subject matter experts, two of which I just want to highlight for you really quickly. We have Dr. Ernie Bush, and he has over 30 years of biomedical research experience in preclinical safety assessment, but even just as importantly in helping people figure out how to navigate, evaluate, and prioritize things in the area of biopharmaceutical research initiatives. And he brings that through working at numerous pharmaceutical companies at senior decision-making levels, and his most recent position was at Roche Pharmaceuticals, so one of the top companies in the world in pharmaceuticals, so a great person to have on our team and provide lots of expertise. We also have Dr. Kevin Davis, and Kevin is the founding editor of BioIT World. Something that you may know even more strongly is Nature magazine. He was the founding editor of the first spin-off of Nature magazine called Nature Genetics, and he has also written 3 books, including Cracking the Genome and the $1,000 Genome. And he has overall 20 years in publishing and research in all the areas that are important here for next-generation sequencing, genomics, bioinformatics, personalized medicine, and technology trends in that area. And there's a copy of Kevin's book if you've ever seen it, or if you want to pick up a copy of his 2 books, The Road to the Genome and The $1,000 Genome. So we're really pleased to have such a deep bench strength on our team to help you out as we move forward. Kevin and Ernie also, of course, are the 2 people who do the moderation of most of our technology webinars or our scientific webinars, where we're hosting people from academia or government to bring information to our communities. So they're a great help at knowing how to ask all the right questions and lead the discussion in the right direction. So just an overview of technology evaluations, which can also be talked about on our online communities. We have a number of different ways that we can look at technology evaluations for you, whether it be through white papers, technical evaluations, one-on-one with one of our pharmaceutical partners, or through our technology evaluation consortiums. So if this is something that's important to you to help get you closer to the pharmaceutical and biotech industry and have them actually try out your new technology, again, this is something that we'd love to talk to you about, or we'd love to do a webinar for you on one of our communities. We mentioned our consulting and market research, and I kind of highlighted this a little bit before, where we can help you with your business strategy planning, and that's where, again, the communities can be a great help, because we can post a survey there, we can hold a focus group or a discussion with a number of customers through an online community, and just get a really intimate perspective on where people are at in their usage in the marketplace, with your competitors, with your product, whatever you might want to be looking at. And the technology evaluations, whether it be the surveys that we do through the online communities, or actually doing some, to get an understanding of what people are using nowadays that I mentioned before, or actually doing some positioning and marketing work for you. That's another thing that we can also do, either directly with our database of 900,000, or take it to the communities and get them to actually be very interactive with us in seeing how we can make things successful for you. But one of the things that we wanted to highlight today is, why are people even looking at communities? And we wanted to give you some market research that maybe you perhaps haven't seen before. So the overview of that market research is that communities really have become sort of a discussion and knowledge sharing place, because they're available 24/7. They're available not just once a year. So when we talk about making sure you have those touch points with your customer, I think the old adage used to be is that you need to touch your customer between 8 to 12 times before they actually turn into someone who's willing to buy something from you. And now we all know that those number of touch points have gone up to like 12 to 20 times before you can really get them to put you in that small circle of consideration.
Dawn, it looks like the bullet points are not showing up on the screen here. If you can advance the button. Not from my end, at least.
Okay. Can you see them now? There's only 2.
Yep, I see them now.
Okay, great. Thanks, Brian. So another reason why you might want to engage people, is not just because you're trying to increase those touch points, but a lot of times either it's more expensive for you to get to your prospective customers, or for your customers to come to meetings and meet you at various events. And so those cuts in your travel budget, this is a much more efficient way to get out to your customers and get them to interact with you. So here's a survey that we thought would be interesting to share with everyone. This is a best practices survey. It's the primary reasons for visiting professional online networks and communities. And why do people do that? And what you can see is that the biggest reason is people want access to thought leadership. They want to hear from other people who are out there using what they might want to be using. They want to get some information that they couldn't get anywhere else. They also want to perhaps showcase themselves or their company. They want to keep track of their peers and their colleagues, et cetera, et cetera. They might even, I was just in a presentation from a senior person at Google, and I think they said something like 80 to 90% of all decisions nowadays are made with some sort of research done online before that person goes and makes their buying decision. So it's so important to be out there where people's fingers are typing into Google and looking for information, or coming online. And that kind of point, the first bullet point about information that they couldn't get elsewhere, I think that's why we find that there's such high participation rates in things like webinars. And we have also implemented on our communities an effort to go to conferences and videotape people talking about their poster presentations, because poster presentations are one of the lost pieces of information that just don't get shared out there in the marketplace. So we're on our online communities, we're looking for unique ways to bring people information that either they can't get anywhere else or that they can't get unless they go and travel somewhere. So let's bring it to them online instead. Another study that we've gotten our hands on is a Deloitte study. And really what the Deloitte study talks about is that people on the marketing side and on the sales side are really becoming more and more open to marketing within communities. And it's because the fact that someone who joins a community has decided to opt in. So they have a certain level of trust. They're looking for a certain level of quality information when they've joined that community. And they really want to see and hear about what others recommend. So Deloitte did a study just a couple of years ago, and I know that things are moving so fast that this is probably even stronger today than it was back then when they did this study. But they studied, did some work around the people who are already investing in online communities. They found that 94% of them were still going to continue to invest in online communities and social media. And I wanted to share with you some of the results of that research today. So they called their study the tribalization of business, because really when you're out in small communities, you're out in small tribes of people who are interested in your particular topic and in your particular area that you want to share with everyone. And the question that they raised was how to achieve transformational change through communities and social networks. They had some other sponsors as well, and those are listed on the screen for you from that perspective too. So the first question is, what are the motivations allowing communities to work? And they found that the primary motivation is people want to connect with people. We're human beings. That's why we're here. We want to hear what other people have to say. And the other important criteria was that people want to help others and they want to be helped. And they're not willing to wait weeks and weeks to get answers. They'd like to get those answers right away, and they'd like to know what's fresh and what's new. And so that's why communities can be a great way to get that information and create those conversations out there. And
John, can you just flip the slide again? It looks like the bullet points are not popping up this time again.
Yeah, it must just be slow because they come up on mine first, so sorry about that. Let's just see. Go back again. Can you see it now,
Perfect.
all 3 bullet points? Okay, so I'll just go through all bullet points quickly from now on and get them up there on the screen quicker. Thanks, Brian. Fundamentally, people either operate in a social framework or in a market framework. So when you walk into a shoe store, let's say, you know that the person who works there knows that you're there to buy. You're not there to just chat about the shoes. But when you walk into a restaurant to meet with your friends, you're not there to buy shoes, but you may be there to talk about shoes or cars, or where is the best place to get your hair cut, or where is the best place to get your shoes shined, or whatever it might be. So people really approach things very differently. They're either in a social framework or in a market framework. And if you can approach them in the context of an online community, which is a social framework, they're much more receptive to listening to your message and much more willing to hear what their peers have to say and consider that those are good recommendations for what they should do as they move forward in their decision-making process. Okay, so this one, hopefully you can see the whole thing at this slide because it's not a build. But in the Deloitte study, they asked people, why are you as a marketer getting involved in using an online community and doing social media? And this is what people said. They said, we're trying to amplify our word of mouth. We're trying to get more ideas. We're trying to do some market research. Maybe internally do some employee communications, but externally we're trying to manage our reputation and have better customer service. So lots of great reasons why people might want to, or you might want to look at doing an online community because of these sorts of things that maybe you really just can't get done in another way. Although you might be able to amplify word of mouth through press releases and public relations, that's one of the nice parts about a community is we can just add on the press releases and publications to our online community work, but they're only there for the day that you announce them, whereas the online community is there 24/7. Some of the top business objectives that people reported in this Deloitte study would be to reduce their market research costs, to bring outside ideas into the organization faster, to generate that word of mouth, to improve, as I said, PR effectiveness, to increase customer loyalty, reduce customer support costs, decrease customer acquisition costs, increase brand awareness, and increase new product success ratios. And these are some of the areas where we would love to talk to you and hear some of your ideas on how you would like to have us help you work on these, and maybe create some new things that maybe we've never done before to help, generate some word of mouth and get the excitement going about what you have to offer in the marketplace. One of the other things in the Deloitte study, and this does have a little bit of a build, so Brian, can you see the 4 circles?
I can't see the circles yet, but I can see the bars.
Okay. Okay. Can you see the 4 circles now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. So what are the community features that contribute the most to effectiveness? And people said that it's the ability to help others, it's the ability to connect with like-minded people, it's the quality of the community manager/team, and it's having a community focused around a hot topic or issue. So again, make it relevant to me, make it important to me, make it something that I want to come back to on a regular basis, and I want to learn more about things, and I really want to participate, and I want to get some information that I can't get anywhere else. So some of the top takeaways from the Deloitte study would be is that communities are about delivering game-changing results, that they found that those that they surveyed said that they increased their revenue per customer dramatically by combining online communities and social media and this new type of ways to communicate with people. Some even up to 50% they increased their revenue per customer. They felt that communities would increase their product introduction success ratios because, again, you're going to a targeted market instead of going to 1 million people and hoping you find the 100,000 that are interested in what you have to offer. That's the idea with our communities is we've already found those 100,000 for you. And now we just need to bring them there and get them interested and get them engaged. And fundamentally, the communities amplify everything you do, increasing both your effectiveness and decreasing your costs. So that was kind of the #1 takeaway from the Deloitte study. The #2 takeaway was the rise of what they call the CMO 2.0. So taking your chief marketing officer and expanding that job. So the community should be an important part of a chief marketing officer's tool set. But for many large companies, there is an underinvestment problem, meaning it's hard to create a community just for your organization. And instead, if we all band together and go after the audience that we're all looking for together, that scale problem goes away. So they felt that the community should evolve the role of the CMO into really a chief community officer, and we can position you and your organization as the expert source for what you have to talk about. And you can become that chief community officer, but do it to the whole industry piece that you're interested in rather than just to your current customers. And what people reported was that if done properly, communities will transform the way marketing works by reducing costs, improving effectiveness, and giving you lots of new opportunities to consider as you move forward. So again, just to tell you about, we have the 2 communities so far, and we're looking for lots of ideas from you guys as to future communities that we might have. And I think at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Brian and let him talk to you about a few other thoughts that we have for you guys.
Great. Thanks, Dawn. Well, just wanted to, I guess, continue building off of what Dawn was sharing. Clearly, there was some data presented that hopefully convinced you that online communities is a format in which you can better kind of communicate with your clients and prospects and also engage with them. And so there are a lot of companies out there who are building their own platforms and their own social networks and communities. And we can tell you from our experience so far in building our first 2 communities that it is a significant amount of work. And so, so in the context of the life sciences, and we've built 2 already, and so it could give you the opportunity to partner with us to have your organizations participate in the conversation without necessarily having to build a community from scratch. And so, as we've shown, we have communities in the drug safety space as well as the NGS space. And so if your organization is participating in those markets, we'd love to speak with you further about how we could partner with you to represent your brand within those conversations. And if your organization is in a different market within life sciences, we'd be more than happy to discuss starting new communities together perhaps as well. On the screen, you can see just a kind of a very quick snippet of one of our marketing collaterals. And I'll just point your attention towards the bottom. It's about relationship-based marketing. And these days, in the past, it was certainly commonplace to find avenues to go out and push your company and push your brand. But these days, there's so much noise out there that it's really about engaging your target market and building a relationship with them before they're going to make a purchasing decision. And so really the idea of community is designed exactly for that reason, to engage folks and to build a relationship with them. And at the same time, building that relationship will be growing the community, but also growing your brand. Okay. And you should see the kind of the backside of our piece there. And as you can kind of see there, quickly, it's just reiterating what I was saying before. It's these days there's so much noise and so much out there that it's a challenge for purchasers to really know a lot about everything that they might be a good purchase for them. And so they're really looking for companies and experts out there who are thought leaders, who are driving the discussion out there and who are ahead of the curve. And so again, the online communities are a format to really find those experts, the people that are out there who are writing the blogs, who are leading panels, and those kind of things. And it's, the online community format is really perfect for that. And so again, CHA has built these two communities so far to help find those experts and help purchasers out there identify individuals with which they can partner. Okay, and just really quickly, in the context of an online community, how exactly do we build these relationships? How do we engage potential customers and current customers in a conversation? What are the exact tactics to do that? And so these are just some examples. Really, one of the most popular mechanisms that we've identified tends to be the webinar. Very similar to this type of arrangement. What we often find to be effective is kind of more of a panel discussion, but at times we also work with our partners to do more of a kind of a technology showcase or kind of a product presentation. And this format here today would be more similar to kind of a showcase or a presentation of what offerings are available. And so both of those options do work well. And one of the main reasons that a company might want to execute a webinar, either by themselves or partnering with CHA, is number one, to kind of engage folks into a conversation, but also to generate sales leads. And so webinars are a great way to kind of capture details of people who are registering. You can find out who actually attends, not just registers. How long are folks staying on the call, and you can really to a certain degree kind of pre-screen the individuals to see who is really interested in your products and services and who is less interested. So it really helps your sales team identify who they should be speaking to. And further, there's several other tactics, and you can certainly visit either drugsafetycouncil.org or ngsleaders.org to see what we've done in these areas. But there's podcasts, blog posts, discussion forums. Don mentioned the poster competitions and many other mechanisms as well. And so, one thing that we always want to think about before we partner with an organization is to really identify what their goals are. What are they looking for from a marketing perspective? Because if it is strictly just to tell people about who we are, online communities can certainly do that, but there's, we can do so much more and with you. And so, for example, if you're looking to position your company as a thought leader, online communities are perfect for that. If you're looking to drive your search engine optimization or SEO, again, communities are an excellent way to do that. And at the same time, just building your brand in general. And so perhaps organizing a panel of experts. Maybe your organization doesn't even have a panelist on there, but maybe they're the moderator or just the sponsor of that event. You're associating yourself with other experts in the industry, so it really helps to elevate your brand. And of course, the social media kind of platform of a community, really helps to kind of continue those conversations and build those relationships through the social mechanism. Okay, well, moving on. I don't see the bullet points on here, so let me see if I can. There we go. Don, you see the one bullet point there so far?
Yep, I see it.
Okay, great. So just continue to move along here. So what we would love to do is communicate with all of you out there. In addition to drug safety and NGS, where might be some other areas where online communities could add value, where CHA could build a community for the marketplace, and even for maybe you as an organization who is looking to promote your organization and elevate your brand. And certainly, after you've hopefully visited both of those, both of our communities, what other features or functionality you think might be valuable? We'd love your input on that as well. And again, it's all about engaging more members. So certainly, if you have other ideas, we'd love to hear those. And again, part of the beauty about this is organizations can be advanced within this conversation and kind of position themselves as the leaders, but they're also members just like everyone else. And so it's really, it's for you, but you can also use this this resource for your own business purposes. And finally, we'd love to continue to talk to anyone who is interested in utilizing the idea of communities in your marketing initiatives. So we'd love to hopefully speak with you each after today's presentation. And finally, looks like this is our last slide right before we'll be taking more questions. And I will just mention again, as Janine mentioned earlier, that we do have the chat format on the side of your screen. So if you have some questions that you're thinking about already, feel free to start putting those through. But hopefully throughout the course of this presentation, you've identified some of the advantages of not only communities, but specifically the communities of Cambridge Health Tech Associates. And so the fact that we have a high degree of industry expertise in this area and our track record so far in building communities and bringing in experts. It's an independent and objective perspective that is hard, if not impossible, to achieve with company-specific sites. And that's some feedback that we've seen from some of our partners. We have several organizations who've done their own webinars, they've done their own social type of strategy, but they really find it to be effective to be working with a third party because it's less of a commercial if they are running an event through the Drug Safety Executive Council or through NGS leaders than if they're running it through their own platform. Communities are highly leverageable network of experience and knowledge. Again, available through regular data-driven surveys, communities of practice, originated and managed by CHA. And of course, this is all about access to the largest database of drug discovery professionals. We keep talking about engaging folks in conversation and elevating your brand, but I think at the end of the day, folks, companies are looking for new people to add into their own database, into their own community, and so this is exactly a mechanism to do that in a way that benefits all. So I think with that, we will we'll take some of your questions. I've got 11:40 on my clock here, so we'll certainly spend the next 15 or 20 minutes taking your questions. So we'd love to hear them at this point. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Janine, who looks like she's been fielding the questions coming through. So, so Janine, if you'd like to go through and maybe read off the questions as they're coming in, and Dawn and I will address those.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Yes, we've had a few questions come in. I will read the first one. It says, do you have just 2 online communities? What if my company is focused in another area? Do you want to address that, Brian?
Sure. Don, would you like me to take that one?
Yeah, by all means, go ahead.
Okay, sure. Absolutely. And you know, as I kind of mentioned, yes, today we do have you know, 2 online communities that do have a focus to them. But you know, CHA is some of our expertise is running kind of social platforms, and so it could be even through the we could partner with a company through the the CHA kind of platform. But really, what we would love to do is find organizations out there who they want to kind of be the leaders with in a conversation from the very beginning. And so what that would mean to us is actually partnering in designing and developing an online community that would be specific to the members of your target market, but we would be able to position you as kind of a founding member or something to that degree, where you could from the very start be seen as the organization who is driving the helping to drive the initiative to bring the community together and advance the the science of that field.
Yes,
so certainly, if your organization is interested in that, I think later on we can put up my contact details or Don's contact details, and you can certainly reach out to us with more questions.
Thanks, Brian. And this is also along a similar vein. Another question: we have spoken about the pharma industry. Do we also have diagnostic community as well when we talk about marketing diagnostic equipment?
Mm-hmm. Great.
We certainly have diagnostic people in our database.
Absolutely, and it's it's funny. We Don and I just returned. Admittedly, we returned on a red eye this morning from a conference that was focused around this area. It was the Clinical Genomics conference, and so the whole idea of next generation sequencing specifically is to move some of this technology into the diagnostic arena, and so that's certainly an area that where NGS is taking us, and to a certain degree in the drug safety space as well. There's a lot of new technologies in drug safety that are looking to diagnose, I guess you would say, not a clinical condition, but diagnose whether a compound is going to be toxic to a human in the clinic. And so we are certainly moving along that space. We recently attended a biomarkers conference as well, and so this is again all moving downstream into clinical applications where we can diagnose certain things about a patient and better treat them. So and in fact, molecular diagnostics is an area where we see a really ripe opportunity to establish a new community. And so if the individual asked that question is interested in talking about that further, we'd certainly love to have that conversation.
Thanks, Brian. Here's one other question. Someone has asked, we already do webinars. What would be the advantage of doing a webinar with CHA?
Sure. Good question. Good. And I can take that one. I maybe referenced it earlier, so perhaps that question came in before I mentioned it. But feedback that we've gotten from clients, and again, using a platform such as WebEx like we use, or there's many other platforms, some that are very, very inexpensive these days. Companies can do these on their own, and really what we've seen, what the feedback we've received from our clients is the fact that they can lead in the conversation on a specific topic within their industry and within their field, but have it not come directly from them. To the audience, it feels much less commercial, and it feels more like they're an expert out there who's sharing knowledge for the community. And so it's the feeling from the audience that is really much different, and it really the perception of that company's brand is much different coming from a third party, objective third party, such as Drug Safety Executive Council or NGS leaders, as it is from their organization specifically. And so that's really the feedback that we've seen. But in addition to that, just brand perception and brand elevation, the benefits of that, CHA also has the capabilities in place. We already have the accounts with WebEx, which we so far have seen to be the best in the industry, which is why we've selected WebEx. So we have that already put forth. Don had already mentioned some of our scientific experts, and so if there is a topic within the area of drug safety, Ernie Bush has typically been our moderator for those events, and for topics in genomics and NGS, Kevin Davis, who's a thought leader in that field, has been the moderator for those events. And so, but then to take it even a step further, Don mentioned at the very top of this call the database that we have access to of over 900,000 scientific professionals. That's for lack of a better word, a list of folks that we can promote to. And certainly we wouldn't promote every event to 900,000 people, but we are able to very effectively segment that population to make sure that it goes to a large audience, but also a focused audience at the same time. So I guess that would summarize my thoughts, but Don, if you have any other comments, feel free to add that.
Yeah, I guess I would just add on to that by kind of answering what I see here as another question too. But if we start a community, what help do we get? And with our depth of experience in the scientists that we have, and then the scientists in the other areas that we haven't mentioned, we have lots of other scientists too that we tap into. We can help you set the scientific communication strategy. We can help you with the implementation of everything, so we can, get the panelists for a webinar for you. We can do your collateral materials for you. We could write your press releases for you. So just like when you deal with, let's say, an advertising agency to do an advertisement in a magazine, let's say that was one of the things you were doing, and you say to them, here's my strategy, but here's all the tactics I want, and they implement all the tactics. We do this sort of the same thing. We help you develop the strategy, and then we help, or we either help you implement all the tactics, or we could implement all the tactics for you. So it's kind of a continuum of how involved you want to get, or how involved you'd like us to be in making all that happen. So you don't have to worry if it's a new community. We have it down to a science. It's just a matter of what's the science, what is the science we're going to talk about in this particular community. So that's kind of the difference as we go forward. Thanks, Brian. Janine, do we have any more questions?
Yes, we do have more questions. I'm going to, since we have just about 10 more minutes in the session, I'm going to put up the link to the survey. So while we're addressing questions, if the attendees would like to complete the survey, we would much appreciate that. And the next question I have is, let me just get this question. If we host a webinar, would we be able to select the topic and the panelists?
Sure, I can take that question, if that's okay, Don. So how we like to, I guess, design our events, it's very collaborative with our partners and also with the community. I guess the ideas for webinars come from all different areas. They come from the community. So at the end of each event and our surveys we always ask what companies or what individuals are interested in hearing about. We also, just in our own initiatives, in CHA's own initiatives, and being out there in the marketplace, we're always listening to hear what the major struggles and challenges are in the industry. So we're able to internally, I guess, source various topics and ideas. And certainly having Kevin and Ernie aboard helps with that as well. But then also too, our partners oftentimes will come to us with this very specific topic that they would like to bring to the community that is a challenge or an issue that the community is facing, but also where our partner is able to address and hopefully solve that challenge. And so the answer, I guess, directly to the question is yes. Our partners certainly are able to pick the title, pick the topic, pick the panelists, but at the same time, we are here as kind of just a mechanism to make sure that all parties are benefit from this process. So, for example, we want to make sure that the content and the topic is relevant for the community and engaging and exciting for the community, but we also want to make sure that it accomplishes the objectives of our partners, namely that they are positioned as thought leaders and experts in the field, that they can engage the community in a conversation that helps promote their technologies or their organization or their brand, but also that it helps generate sales leads for our partners. And so whatever the best way that ends up being, that's usually the first conversation I have with my clients when they decide they want to partner with us to do webinar is, what are you thinking about in terms of topics and content? What are your objectives and those kind of things? And then it's kind of a little bit of a back and forth where both of us decide on what the final product of that webinar is going to be. So I think that was a long-winded way of saying yes, we can certainly take the topics and panelists from our clients, but we also can be as involved as they need us to be.
Thanks, Brian. Here's another question. What experience do you have with existing communities that may be looking for ways to expand or extend their reach, their value, and for the host companies, the internal equity? How do you approach this opportunity?
I guess I'm not sure exactly what, Dawn, did you have a thought? Did you want to take that one first? I guess I'm not fully understanding the question. If you could rephrase it, perhaps. Sure.
So I'm just looking at here. The question is, what experience do we have with existing communities? Or I guess it's someone who already has their own community, and that person's looking to expand or extend their reach and their value. And how do you approach this opportunity? So I guess what we would say is we would work with you to understand, where you're at with the current community and understand why it's not doing as well as you would like it to do. And if there's maybe a way to have some cross synergies between our communities and your communities to help build them up further, just even from a search engine optimization perspective and looking at your website, maybe there's some things that you're doing that isn't driving the appropriate traffic to your website, or maybe there's some more social media things we could do for you, or press releases, or things where we could, co-host a webinar, co-sponsor a white paper, co-sponsor a blog, things like that. So those are some of the things that come to my mind at first as to if someone has an existing community, how we could help support the mutual growth of both of them. That might be some ideas. Anything else you want to add to that, Brian?
No, I think you covered that very well.
Okay. Thank you, Dawn. Here's another question. What type of webinar or topic for a webinar seems to get the best attendance or participation?
Sure, I can take a first crack at that one. We actually spend a lot of time on kind of the titles and topics of our events, especially our scientific events that we present through the Drug Safety Executive Council and through NGS leaders. And so we really look for topics that are involving either technology or issues that are kind of on the cutting edge, because that's what people are thinking about, and what they're concerned about is what's going to happen with some of this stuff. But we also like to kind of be if we can, a little bit provocative, and kind of ask a very provocative question to kind of get people's attention, and start to think about things a little bit differently, and that tends to really engage them into wanting to hear what this conversation is. But at the same time too, when we build the event, having key opinion leaders and also at times diverse types of panelists on an event tends to lead towards a very, very interesting discussion about what the future could be for for our industry and for for the marketplace. And so those tend to work really, really well. And at the same time, they tend to keep people engaged throughout the entire course of the webinar, which is really part of the goal, to keep people engaged the entire time, so that they're continuing to feel the experience that your organization potentially is is presenting to them. And so that's really just builds the relationship and helps to elevate your products and services and brand.
Thank you, Brian. I have one more question here. Can I get a copy of the Deloitte survey you mentioned?
Of course. Donna, I think you have all those. They were public, information that we found on the internet.
And we've downloaded it. So just to make it easy for people, if anyone wants to send Brian an email, his email's on the screen, I think still. Just send him an email, and we'll forward it right off to you.
Thank you.
I think I saw another question come in too, Janine.
There is another question here. We may have time for one or two more. What type of unique offering might we be able to do?
Okay. Well, that's a good question. We usually get that sort of question because people are thinking about how to be a little bit different and how to, really make an impact in the marketplace and how to be memorable. Some of the things that we've done in the past, for instance, I think Brian touched on this a bit, is we have held like poster competitions, and that's actually where, let's say, a particular company sponsors a poster competition, as I said, and it's around a particular topic, and people submit their ideas over a period of time, and then we get a panel of experts to judge those posters and then award the winner. And then through things like social media, we promote the contest, we send out a press release, we put things up on our discussion forums and blogs, we kind of make a big hoopla about it, and then when the winner is announced, of course, we then make again another big hoopla and use a lot of social media and things like that. Another idea of something that we did recently was we actually there was a meeting that was being held, and all the presenters during the day, they were all eligible to win a free press release or a free webinar, and so that was a special award that was given just again to highlight the best that was done and the most unique in the marketplace and things like that. So we kind of like to take the idea of combining something real and live with something online so we can engage both different types of people. So I don't know, Brian, if you have any other thoughts or things that you want to add as to unique things that people might be able to do, but those are just a couple that come to mind immediately.
Sure. Well, I guess I just want to pick up on your thought about kind of the webinars, and someone, I think at one of the earlier questions that came in was asking, it sounds like you're in the pharma space, but what about diagnostics and some other areas? And oftentimes, what we like to do is, if we're thinking about a new community, or a partner of ours is thinking about maybe becoming a founding member of a new community, really engaging the marketplace in a discussion, such as a webinar, can really help to identify how much enthusiasm is out there, in establishing a community. And so, what I could envision, if there's a partner out there who's interested in exploring this further, we could certainly craft one event around a discussion that's has been a challenge within their target marketplace. Their customers and their prospects are having a certain issue, or where they think that they have a solution. We can engage those individuals into a discussion. Really kind of check the energy from the individuals that attend that event, and then we could even do some market research and some polling questions, and just ask them out there who would be willing to be involved in a community such as this, who would be interested in maybe being one of our regular bloggers, who would be interested in being panelists for future events, those kind of questions, and really identify if the opportunity is ripe for a new community in a new space. And so I guess that would just be building off of what you were saying, Dawn, and also building off of an earlier question.
Great, thanks,
Thank you, Brian. Okay, we are just about out of time. I think we've come to the end of today's session. I want to thank Dawn and Brian, and thank you to everyone who's attended. If you'd like any more information about our communities, we'd be delighted to speak with you. You can contact Brian or let us know through the survey that you're interested in more information. Thank you again, and goodbye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye now.